What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So look, y'all, Mr. Ed Reed. Ed Reed was named the head coach for Bethune Cookman University. The great future Hall of Famer. Ed Reed is a Hall of Famer now. He is. Hall of Famer Ed Reed, the greatest safety to ever live. Got over 60-something interceptions. He's now the new head coach for Bethune Cookman, and this is a win for HBCUs all across the board. I'm happy for that brother. I'm happy for that institution, which is now in the SWAC, the same conference as my alma mater, Mississippi Valley State University, and the same conference as Jackson State University, who recently lost their Hall of Fame mega star of a coach, Deion Sanders. So now the question is, will Ed Reed have the same success or similar success as Deion Sanders? And I'll say this. My quick answer to that is, I don't think he will have the same type of success, but I do think he will be successful. Hear me out. Ed Reed is one of the most brilliant football minds we've ever seen. Bill Belichick raves about him. Again, one of the greatest defensive backs to ever play, greatest safety of all time, in my opinion. Played for the vaunted Baltimore Ravens defense. Went to the University of Miami. Knows more football than more than I've forgotten in my lifetime, right? No, excuse me. He's forgotten more football than I've ever known in my lifetime. That's the saying. However, there is only one primetime Deion Sanders. Only one. Although Ed is a great, all-time great player, and I think he could be a great leader of men, Ed is not as charismatic as Deion. I don't think, again, there are women who've never watched football in their life, and a lot of those men, young boys, are coming from sometimes a nice percentage of them are coming from single-parent households. Sometimes they didn't grow up with a father. The coach has to talk to the mom. The mom gonna send her kids to go play for Deion Sanders because Deion can sell salt to a slug, right? They know Deion, they're familiar with him, they're familiar with what he does and the career he had and his image outside of his playing days. They're enamored with that man. It's only one of one. His mom and his father only made one of him. Talking about primetime Deion Sanders. There's only one prime. Primetime was a megalodon. And everybody else was just guppies in the water. Because that's what come on, fam. He was the blue whale. The megalodon. In a sea of guppies, in a sea of goldfish. That's because he was just that big and just that dynamic. I don't think Ed has the same type of aura and charisma as Deion to garner the number one pick in the country. And I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think Ed has that same type of clout and cachet. However, I'll say this. I believe that Ed will be able to recruit the state of Florida very well. He'll be able to bring some very good players to Bethune-Cookman that they otherwise could not get, right? He gonna get some 3 stars. He mess around, might get some 4 stars for sure. Hell, he might get a 5-star. I'm hoping that he does, right? Even though Bethune is not my alma mater, I'm advocating for all HBCUs and the success of these HBCUs, right? But I don't know if, again, he'll recruit the state of Florida very well. Florida is a football state. He's from Florida. He played football in Florida. Well respected. If you're a DB, why wouldn't you want to go play for Ed Reed the same way you would want to go play for Deion? Even though Deion, again, is a better salesperson. While he can get some great players, better players than Bethune probably could get on there before him, I don't think it will be the same caliber as what Deion was pulling in. Just because of Deion, who Deion is. But I do think that Bethune will have some very successful seasons. They mess around, win swag. Who knows, right? But I don't know if, what the impact I don't think will be the same as Deion's. Yes, it'll be outstanding. People will come and cover the team. They'll interview Ed Reed. They'll cover his successes. They'll cover the team's, highs and lows, so on and so forth. But you ain't gonna have no documentaries and camera crews just following Ed Reed everywhere he go. I don't think 60 Minutes is coming to talk to Ed Reed. And even though they should, because Ed is a Hall of Famer. I'm not trying to slight him in any way. Bethune-Cookman, I don't think that College Game Day is coming to come watch Bethune-Cookman play, even if Ed has them 10-0, 11-0, 10-0 at the time. You know, just because Prime was the reason why them people came. He is just of a different ilk. He made us something different, y'all. It's like the aura that he carries is more magnetic than any player that you can think of outside of maybe a Shannon Sharp, maybe a Randy Moss or something like that. That's it. That's the only type of guy like I think can rival that, or Jerry Rice from my alma mater, Mississippi Valley State University. I do think though that Ed will give. I think he will be more welcomed within the SWAC than Deion. I think he will be more admired and respected. Even by people who aren't watching the SWAC, even the people that, some of like the naysayers that Deion had before he even came to Jackson State, that said he was going to do poor and stuff like that and not do well. And I think he'll be welcomed better because Ed is more perfect. He doesn't come with the histrionics, he doesn't come with as much baggage, the Louis luggage, that Deion Sanders comes with. Ed is not a person who's trying to get in front of a camera and trying to sell you on a persona. And, you know, he's just not really, that's not his MO. Because Ed is a more serious individual, he's more of a low-key type of guy in certain aspects of him. No nonsense, low-key type of guy. I think it will come across as more genuine with him being there. Which I don't think you'll catch Ed Reed talking about how he heard the locker rooms at another school were terrible. Like Deion said. Who they play? Alcorn, talking about the locker rooms is terrible. I don't think you'll see Ed, just certain things, Ed walking through certain crowds, walking through the opposing teams, walking through they warm up and all. You won't see Ed doing those type of things, which will give him more love than hate. He won't get as much certain animosity from certain SWAC crowds or a SWAC coach here or there or another team. Because Ed doesn't come with the bravado and all of that. He doesn't come with all of the bright lights, and even though bright lights is what he played under and he is big time, Ed Reed is, he doesn't come with that. He doesn't carry it on his shoulders the way Deion does. So I think he'll be more accepted and more welcome for it without question. Now, the question is, if Ed Reed, again, I think he'll get great players, very good players. I don't think they'll be the same caliber, like I don't think he will get the #1 recruit in the country like Deion got. I think he'll get great players. He'll possibly win a SWAC title. Possibly will. You know, and who knows? I'm wishing for the brother's success, but I don't think that he'll be able to get the fanfare in HBCU football the same way Deion had it. The same way Deion had Troy Aikman, all of them, and coming to Jackson State, and people who never heard of Jackson State just rocking the gear. I don't think it'll be that same way for Ed, unless you like a real big football head or a person who love the Baltimore Ravens or that just respects Ed ultimately. A lot of people have, Ed has a lot of people's, a lot of people respect Ed to the highest degree. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you're going to see all the rappers at the games. You might see Trick Daddy and them come through, but I don't know if you'll see all the rappers at the games the way they was rushing to come be with Prime Time. No, I don't know. I hope so, though. I hope he brings that flair and, you know, and people will come to the HBCU game still and not just become Boulder, Colorado transplants now that Deion is in Colorado. I hope that Ed Reed will be able to garner the same support or similar support that Deion had, but I think the fanfare will be different because Deion was just this megalodon in a pool full of, I'm not trying to minimize the SWAC coaches, but a lot of people looked at them as guppies. Nobody cared about our football in the HBCU ranks. Nobody cared about what we were doing, and none of the sort. So, yeah, I don't think the impact will be the same as Prime's, but I think he will have a great impact for sure. Now, the other question remains this. Again, X's and O's is one thing. You can be a great football mind. You can be a great player at your position. But getting guys to execute, coming up with game plans, so on and so forth. That's a different thing. As great as Deion was, he won, his teams went undefeated during the regular season. He lost the Celebration Bowl 2 games in a row and was outcoached in both games. Right? The first year they played in the Celebration Bowl, they lost against South Carolina State. This year they lost against North Carolina Central. Right? So they lost against the MEAC in both situations. He was outcoached in both of those games. So for all of the greatness that Prime displayed on the field, it still didn't transfer to him losing to coaches who are not NFL superstars, who are not NFL guys that were Hall of Famers. So, again, the coaches that Deion Sanders lost to were not Hall of Fame coaches. They still had executed the X and O's well to beat Prime in both years. So, it'll come down to the way that Ed Reed game plans. And he's a guy who I think is very, very serious and rigorous about his game plan. I think he'll surround himself with a great coaching staff that will help him get to where his team get to where it needs to be. The ultimate question, though, will be because people are going to ask, oh, my God, people are trying to throw pity parties for Deion. Oh, my God, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord. Black folks just turned on good old Coach Prime. They just did him so wrong. And he just is an upstanding black man that was just for fight the power for all black. He was for black folks and for the whole black community strongly. And I was like, bro, again, it was great that Prime came to the HBCU ranks. Amazing for what the awareness that he gave Jackson State and HBCU football with him being there. But I recognize that now that he's gone, a lot of that fanfare leaves. A lot of people are no longer going to care. Now they're going to care a little bit still. Now they're going to care. Some people are going to come back because of Ed Reed. Yeah, but, people are like, oh my God, they did Deion so wrong and act like Deion was just such a pro-black man when he was going against Colin Kaepernick several times publicly when Cap first kneeled. That's a whole nother discussion for another day on Deion. But people are like, are they going to villainize him if he leaves the same way they villainize Deion Sanders? And the question to that is no. No, because I don't think, as long as Ed Reed doesn't get up there and try to act like he's trying to be the savior for HBCU football, he's trying to equal the playing field and trying to make HBCU football respected as the same way the Power 5 conferences are respected. He's trying to make it a home state. He's trying to make this thing, Prime was selling it. He was laying it on thick, acting like he was trying to just level the playing field for HBCUs and make it the equivalent to Power 5 schools and all of that. And people are like, well, Prime always said his intentions. Prime said his intentions his last year when he knew the was coming. He said, I got to entertain it. I got to entertain if I get another deal. He didn't say that from the jump. He said it in his last season, during his last season, when they asked him during 60 Minutes, what will you do if another school calls? And he said, I got to entertain it. He was saying it during them last years, but not when he first got there. And a lot of black folks thought he wasn't going to leave because he was saying how God brought him there and, using God as a state that God brought him there, delivered him there, and he was trying to change just the dynamic all across the board. As long as Ed don't go up there and say it was he was ordained to come there and it was just his calling to just be there and make Bethune Cookman the equivalent to or as respected as the SEC schools and the Big Ten schools, and because that would require Ed to stay there for a very long time to make that respected. Just to say it will require him to stay there for years and years. As long as Ed doesn't say anything like that and trying to come across as selling black folks a dream of this HBCU utopia where this FCS schools are propped up and looked at and respected just as the Power 5 conferences. As long as he don't go in there trying to say that's his mission and that is his whole devotion and all of that, he's going to be good. Just don't try to sell black folks grape juice and call it wine. Don't do that. If he doesn't do that, he cool. If he say, look, I'm blessed for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I always wanted to coach the game of football and be a coach. Now I have a chance to lead young men and rear them, not only in athletics, but also in academics and also in their everyday life. And their, and help them, guide them to stay on the straight and narrow and develop or keep or maintain a great moral compass. Just a chance for me to be hands-on with kids. I love it. I love the fact that I'm home now and I can make an impact in certain communities that I come from by recruiting certain kids from certain neighborhoods and giving them a chance to play collegiate football. If he keeps it along the lines of that, he good. But if he comes in trying to paint himself as the savior for HBCU football, the way Prime was trying to do, right? If he starts invoking God for trying to send him there to Bethune-Cookman to try to change the whole landscape and atmosphere, yeah, black folks going to look at him a certain way if he bounces after two or three seasons. Because to equal the playing field all the way, you're going to have to stay much longer than 2 and 3 years. And if you try to say you was your call and all of that, and you were supposed to be coming as the savior, if you were ordained to be the savior for HBCUs, you come talking that talk, black folks going to hold you to that, especially in the Bible Belt of America in the South. They're going to hold you to that. They're going to make those words are going to stick with them, and they're going to say, I remember what you said, brother. Live up to that. They're going to expect that from Ed. But as long as Ed don't try to do all that, trying to sell black folks a dream, he is good. He is Gucci, right? And I think that he will, even if he moves on, if he does well and moves on, I think it will be received well as long as he doesn't try to sell black folks a dream. But best wishes to Ed Reed. This is great for HBCU football. It makes it even more interesting again. I think people will tune in and see what Ed can do with these young men. It won't be at the same level as Coach Prime. I don't think Barstool going to be trying to come and holler at him and all this and all of that in College Game. I don't think College Game Day coming. But they're going to get some segments on ESPN. They're going to get some talk. You know, they're going to get a game or so, a game or two. And because they're going to want to see how Ed does, because Ed is that respected. He's the greatest to play his position and a Hall of Famer. And it's a great look for HBCU football to get a former legend like that, to bring him in and have him be the head coach of these young men to lead their football program into a prosperous era, hopefully. Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace.